Hello, guys, ladies, and welcome to another episode of the Imperfect Cheerleader podcast. My name is Jasmine Neely, and I'm your host and guide on your path to becoming a professional dancer or cheerleader. I am a current NBA dancer and honeybee, and I just love to do what I do. I love performing. And if you're new here, welcome. I hope that you find this show really powerful for you. Hope that you find this show inspiring on your journey to training, to becoming a pro dancer in the NFL, NBA, industry dancer, or whether you just like to move and you just want to express yourself in that way, because it is a form of mental health and physical health dances. So in this episode, I want to talk about the Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders. I'm going to do an episode by episode series. And today we're going to talk about episode 1 of season 2. Now, if you go way back into my previous episodes, I did a recap of part 1 and part 2 of the first season of DCC. And I think those got really good views or listens, downloads, whatever you call it with podcasts, because people just can relate. And like Netflix does a really, really good job of showing the story of these women's lives and how the organization has grown to what it is today. And I never really was one to watch the CMT show, but I get it from watching the Netflix show. For some reason, I think I wasn't interested in watching the CMT show because I knew in the back of my mind at one point I wanted to do that. At one point, I wanted to dance in the NFL. So my mind was kind of like, do I really want to know everything? Sometimes the more you know, the more it can hinder you. So like the less you know sometimes can be your superpower, because your naivety can kind of like help you get through it because you don't know what you don't know, if that makes any sense. So I kind of just wanted to go into it, not super blind. Of course, I got help and guidance, but I didn't want to watch the show because I didn't want to be overwhelmed with all the drama and what could happen in my journey to becoming an NFL cheerleader. So with that said, we'll talk about season 2, episode 1 today. And as I was watching the show, I was taking notes about things that I want to talk about, things that I noticed, maybe that other people haven't noticed. If you go on my TikTok, I did start a mini series there just of some of my initial thoughts. But I will say, when they started out the episode, and this is going to be a spoiler alert for if people haven't seen the show. So if you don't care about spoilers, then continue listening on. But if you do, then you might want to listen later after you watch the episode. So I thought it was interesting how they opened up the episode with Kelly and Judy kind of being pictured in this tough position, right? Where they were having to make a decision about who they were going to cut at training camp. And it's like a foreshadow of like what's to come in the episode or the season. And as I was hearing like just rumblings from last season, people kind of said that they were too harsh on the girls and that they weren't as human. And I think this starting out of like, especially Kelly crying, making a tough decision, and she's saying like, at what cost? I think it's a way to show that they're human. If I had to guess, what their feedback was from last season was that they wanted to be shown as more human. Yeah, so I think that was very interesting. I also liked the opening of it because as you go throughout the season, I've already seen the season, so I'm going episode by episode now. But at the beginning of the season, they kind of depict these women as like, you put on that uniform and it transforms you. I think even one woman said that the uniform transforms her. And that it's picturing these women on this team as a dream and that they're untouchable. They started pulling out words that I couldn't tell were if they were in their contract or not, but things like saying yes ma'am and no ma'am, and like the contracts, I believe it said, I think somebody wrote it, I think Katiana actually in the clip, she read it out and it said, be strong enough to not let anything disturb your peace of mind. Which I think is, on one hand, you want to be like, yeah, totally. I don't want anything to disturb my peace of mind. And I want to be strong. But on the other hand, it's like, I'm not always strong. And my peace of mind is definitely going to be disturbed because I have no control sometimes over the things that happen to me. So, yes, I can be strong on one hand, but on the other hand, I need support from other people to be strong. I'm looking way deeper into this, but I just thought that was interesting that they had to read that out loud. I'm not sure if it was in their contract or not, but it was just an interesting statement that I was just thinking deeper about. One person that I did notice in this episode, and I think throughout the season, is Jada. And I noticed her last season, but she kind of wasn't like a forefront figure where she was being interviewed and like one of the main characters of the show. But this is how I knew she was going to be a breakout star from this episode. She said the things that worked in the 1950s and 1960s need to go. And that was just a blanket, blunt statement. And when she said that, I knew like she was going to be the star of the show and she was going to be the radical voice that the show needed. I knew that she was going to be somebody that was respected by both the coaches and the girls on the team, just because she's the type of person that just says it like it is in a respectful way. And I think she's really smart by how she does it. But she let us know right off the bat, like, she's not one of those girls that's just going to be like a yes, ma'am, like a yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Like, of course she's going to be, because it's her job, she's going to be respectful and she's going to do things in a way that is thought out. But she's going to kind of like fight the system a little bit to make things better for the team, for pro dancers in general. And I think that was like a boom, like moment where I was like, okay, this girl, I'm excited to watch what's more to come of her. Also noticed that Judy is one of the more, I think she's a little bit more traditional in the sense of like pro dance DCC tradition than Kelly is. I think Kelly is a little bit more open. But one thing Judy said towards the beginning of the episode was, these women don't let other people know what their mistakes are, but that's what makes them a great team. They don't want to let anyone down. And I think her saying that is great. Like, but there's a but coming. So, yes. And she's been in their shoes. She knows that she doesn't want to make mistakes. She wants the approval of the coaches. Like, she's been in those shoes. And I do think that not the side of like not wanting to let people down is what makes a team a great team, because you're all part of a collective to reach a certain goal. And I agree with that approach, but the mistakes part, it's a high stakes environment and it is a job based on looking perfect, looking well put together. And I think that mistakes are to be expected, but not maintained. So, yes, someone might make mistakes, but they have to learn quickly from their mistakes. And I think that's what makes a good team. Not that they don't want to make mistakes, because mistakes are going to happen. It's inevitable. Like, we're all human. I think what comes from those mistakes, what you learn from them, is what makes a team a great team, because they want to not let anyone down. And if I had to think about what she was saying there, I think that's how I would interpret her statement. Okay, the last thing I think in that opener was like the lines and just the formations. They do a damn good job of instilling like the brand of this team. Like, you're gonna want to be on this team so bad that you're going to sacrifice everything to be on this team. You're going to want to be part of this team, and you're going to want to respect being part of this team, but we're also going to have some fun, right? They do a good job, I think, of saying like, hey, this is an actual job. Like, you got to take this seriously, but it's also a moment in time in your life where it's just so much fun, and you're going to cherish these memories forever. Okay, and then we get into like when Kelly and Judy are picking the rookie finalists. And the one thing that I noticed, just because I am a woman of color, I noticed there were hardly any women of color that they were choosing from. Maybe one, which I think was Ariel. And I was just kind of disappointed. I think they try to choose and insert diversity into the episode. For example, they pointed out that they had a girl from Mexico. I think her name is Gemma. Maybe is she Mexican? I can't remember. And Aki, who I know, she's from Japan. I know her. We did Raiderettes together. She's so sweet. And Aki, if you're listening to this, girl, keep going. You are amazing. Aki did make it to finals, but she did not make training camp. But I'm so proud of her because she's just amazing, and she deserves everything. So shout out to Aki. And they tried to do that, but then other than that, there was like no diversity. And in that lineup, from what I saw, sometimes pictures you can't really see who's who. But at the end of the day, they didn't really bring that many women of color into finals. So yeah, it was kind of disappointing to see that. And people always say like, oh, maybe there weren't that many talented women of color. I find that so hard to believe. Yes, women of color are not the majority in this country. I get that. I'm talking about in this country, America. I get that. But I'm sure they could have definitely chosen a little bit more of a diverse group. I'm sure out of all their semifinalists, there was some women of color in there that were badass that they could have given a chance, at least on this show. Like, I don't know. I don't know how the decisions are made, but it just seems like they fumbled the bag. I'm just going to say. So, and this time they did do prelims and semifinals virtually. So maybe they had some women of color in the semifinal round that we didn't get to see on the show. But I kind of liked how they progressed through the episode with the girls that were staying. I should stop saying girls. The women that were staying at the hotel together, and how they were practicing together. And they were kind of like, I think Kelly from Weehawken, she was like, you see these women that you have competed against all your life and that you might know, but you don't really know them as people. You just know their face, and like maybe where they went to school, or a little bit about what studio they grew up dancing at, or whatever it is. And it's kind of like, yeah, you know them, but you don't know them. And then like this atmosphere brings you together and puts you on a team together. And it's kind of like, it's a whole new environment, a whole new like chapter of you getting to know them, and you're in the same boat. So it's interesting to kind of think like that, because the dance world is really small. And I think it's interesting that she said that, because you definitely are like, oh my gosh, I used to compete against you. You were so good. And now we're in the same like situation together. We're going through the same thing, and I'm getting to know you. It's kind of like therapeutic a little bit, and like innocent in a way. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I also like the way that they use this episode. I think Kelly Fenglass said that she wanted the girls to have she wanted the women to have more feedback, direct feedback. And I think they've always done that, but I think they've in the past done it in a way that was more like meant for TV. And granted, a lot of things on this show are meant for TV, like to get the views up, to cause conversation. And I think that more teams should do that. I think more teams should bring girls in and have conversations with them saying like, hey, this is what I think you should do. So I think you should stop doing and go back out and show us, especially if you're in an environment like training camp or something. Some teams do that, and I think it's really important because the women do want direct feedback. They crave that, and they want to know how they can get better. So that's one thing I really admire about like what Kelly and Judy do. When it comes to recruiting, I did notice that they had a special projects and recruiting person, Shelly Roper McCaslin, and I thought that was really interesting because she talked a lot about the girls and where they were from, like what colleges they went to. They pulled dance clips of like college NBA nationals, like I think Abby from Ohio State, which Abby, by the way, is so captivating as a dancer. Just from what I've seen, she's the woman from Ohio State. She was amazing. They pulled clips of Ariel from LSU, and I think Dara maybe was her teammate. And I think that was so important to show the world that dancers just don't pop out of the blue. We spend our whole lives training for this moment. And whether it's we started later or we go to college and we get that training through college, I think it's important to show like these college dancers are incredible and they put their heart and soul into this when they're in college. And the next step is to get to the pros. So I think that them showing that special projects and recruiting, like knowing somebody, that person knowing that the background of these dancers matter, the background of them coming from these incredible college teams is a win for their organization. I think that was important to show. And a lot of people, average people, don't know that or don't understand how dancers matriculate through different levels and different genres and areas of dancing for a pro team or just professionally. So I think that was really interesting. But back to Abby. That girl is phenomenal. Her solo, and I didn't even see the whole thing, obviously, because it's the show. I wish I was in person to see it because just from what I saw, her solo was probably my favorite. The way she like holds her positions and like kind of stares at judges, it's just chef's kiss. It's amazing. And I think that's what like draws somebody into her and like why she was brought into finals because of how great of a performer she is and her stage presence. Two girls I wish they would have shown more of is Gemma and Allison. I believe they were rookies during this season. I think Gemma was Hispanic or Mexican, and then Allison is Asian. I'm not sure if she's Korean or Chinese or what, but she has that kind of like that Asian background. And just watching them throughout the show, you can kind of see, it kind of seems like they are a little bit more reserved, but I don't know that, but I wish they would have shown more of them in their story. I do remember after watching the season, they had TikToks and they were promoting the show basically. And a lot of girls said that Allison had really amazing kicks. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have seen that on the show, But now that I'm watching again, I could probably notice it a little bit better. And then I got to thinking about, I can't remember her name. Is it Madison? I can't remember her name, but she was 18 years old. And they spend a lot of time, if a girl is 18, they really like hone in on the fact that she's younger. And maybe they suspect that she's not mature, so she has to prove that she's mature, which is interesting because when you're 18, you're an adult. But yes, you are definitely not as mature mentally. So I think that was interesting to see. And I thought about like, could I have auditioned at 18 years old? And my answer to that is yes. I was at my prime as a dancer at 18 years old. Maybe not at my prime, but I was pretty damn good. And I auditioned for a college team and made that team. I was I guess I was at my prime because I could do all my tricks still. I was a senior in high school, so I had my senior year at my dance studio and I had my solos. I had all this experience built up from competing in dance. And yes, college was the next step, but I could have skipped college and gone straight to the pros because it would have been a learning curve, learning a new style, but like the technique was definitely there. I think I would have made it if I went straight at 18. And plus, I think I was mature enough to be on that team as an 18-year-old. So, who knows? In another life. But then they get into the solos and the solos that you only do at auditions. And I think solos are interesting because you get to really see somebody's personality and the story behind what they choose to dance with and how they choose to dance, what style or what story they're trying to portray. But that's the only time that you do a solo at auditions. Like I've done solos for Raider. I did a solo for Raiderettes. And I get the reason why they want to do it, but you're going to be on a team for the rest of the season. You're never going to be out there doing a solo for a team. So, in that aspect, I don't understand solos. I think I just understand it more for like the entertainment aspect, but in the grand scheme of things, solos are just for like the entertainment, honestly. And to see like what you're going to bring out just to look at you fully. Now, okay, let's get into Shandi for a little bit. I thought so. I auditioned, full disclosure, for the Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders, and I stayed with my girl Kat when I took a prep class back in like March 2022. And I was just asking Kat a bunch of questions, and she was kind of like, "Yeah, their unspoken rule is being on the team for 5 years." And so when I saw that Shandi was returning for his sixth year, I was like, "Whoa, that's like, is that breaking their unspoken rule? Like, how is that going to affect her being on the team? Is it going to affect her being on the team?" So I don't know if, I mean, people probably still come back, but I think the average is 5 years. But if this is being a fifth year, and that kind of being your retirement year, but so I thought it was interesting that she came back, and I think it's commendable that she came back because she didn't think that she was done yet. And a lot of times people don't think that they were done yet. I didn't think I was done dancing, which is why I auditioned for the Honeybees. And I totally get that coming back. So that just goes to show that there are unspoken rules, but like, do you have to really think about like taking that chance on whether or not you're going to follow that unspoken rule and whether or not you need to gather more data. So yeah, that was interesting. And then just Shandi in general, talking about how like she felt like she wasn't that great of a leader the year prior, and how she wanted to be more of a leader this year and kind of step into that role without having Kelsey there to be kind of like underneath. I think was incredible of her to do that and to challenge herself because she is more of a quiet leader. And when I was an info cheerleader, I was more of a quiet leader and definitely challenged the status quo a little bit, but also was more of like a lead by example and step back and to kind of observe the situation before I step in. So I totally get that, about wanting to like prove to yourself that you can be a good leader and to challenge yourself to be kind of a different leader than you were. I had a coach one time tell me like, you don't need to be a different leader. You are a captain or a leader because of your ability to do great leading by example. Because I did find myself at times trying to lead in a different way because I thought that would be more respected. But people, you being just yourself as a leader, your team will follow and they might respect you more. They might even find you a little bit more approachable. And I think I found that out too. So I think it's great that Shandi came back to prove something to herself, but I also think she tried to prove something to the team and the coaches, which, hey, to each his own. Each her own. One thing I wrote is like, I thought that it was great that the dancers, when they were practicing, the vets at least, they were doing their solos in their uniforms. And I liked that they practice in their uniforms. I think that's super important in your shoes and your uniform, because you never know what malfunctions may happen. When I auditioned for Honeybees, I actually had a clip in the back. And I always say this, pin the clip, because you don't want it to come out. And so I was freaking out a little bit because I was trying to pin my clip. I was trying to be super prepared so that if it popped out, nothing would happen. But nothing did happen. I didn't end up putting the pin in there because it didn't fit. But I was like, okay, let me just make sure it's tucked at the bottom. So you just have to work through some of those things that might happen. You don't want your top to fall down or any malfunctions to happen while you're dancing, because that can be super distracting. Charlie and Kelly's relationship is so beautiful. For context, they both got cut last season and they're both coming back this season. I think that just them becoming best friends and bonding through them both being cut but also both coming back is just amazing. I think it shows the sisterhood of a team like that. And I think that it's a natural sisterhood and friendship that I think is just beautiful. So I hope that that happens to everyone on a team, that you naturally gravitate towards somebody that can be your best friend and friend for life, and that's where you meet your friends for life. So I think that's amazing. Dayton, her story is really interesting. And I always wonder, for people like Dayton, do they do it for them or do they do it because it's expected by their mom? So to give a little context, Dayton, her mom was a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader back in the day. I think she cheered with Kelly, maybe, and maybe Judy. But I think, and now her daughter is going out to be a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. Her daughter auditioned, I believe, a couple years before she got cut, and now she's coming back. And I just try to sense whether Dayton really does this for her or she's trying to prove to her mom that she can step into her mom's footsteps. And I don't know. It's hard for me to tell. I don't know her. But just by watching, it's a little bit of both. Like, stepping into your mom's position where she used to be and trying to fill those shoes is probably a tough task. I've never had to do it. My mom's not a dancer, so I never really had to quote unquote follow in her footsteps. But I think I just wonder, I just want her to do it for her and not for her mom, right? So yeah, anyway. Okay, and then we get to the finals. The final rounds are in person. It's nerve-wracking. This is the first time that they're seeing the women in person, so I thought that was kind of a little whoa, you either make a really good first impression in person or you don't. And then they were talking about, they show a lot of clips of Kelly and Judy trying to be into their personal life and relatable. And I saw some of this talk on Twitter, or not on Twitter, on TikTok, about how Kelly was oh, I want to call Kamala Harris's pantsuits. And, people were trying to say that, oh, she's liberal because of that. And I'm just we don't know this lady's life. Sure, she could be. But I did like that she, and whether or not she is or not, it doesn't really matter. But I think people were just kind of speculating, oh my gosh, are they trying to show that she is a relatable person because she's liberal? Whatever. But I did like that she went with the pantsuit, because it really did look good on her for finals. I think she rocks a good pantsuit. And then we got into some of the finalists, some of the solos. Jada was first, and she was talking about how finals as a veteran is so much harder. I think auditions as a veteran in general is so much harder because you have more to prove. They know who you are. They kind of know your strengths and weaknesses, and they expect so much more from you. So you have to go harder. And that's so true what she said. Reese, that girl is a fan favorite, and I'm a fan as well. She's definitely a girl next door. Definitely can be such a captivating and sexy kind of dancer, but just so sweet as well. She finds this really great balance in her personality, and that's just who she is. Some of the commentary I think is so interesting to hear, because you never really hear judges' commentary during auditions, and some of the commentary from Judy and Kelly were like, do you think she's glamorous enough this year? And, oh, the back of her head kind of looks flat and stuff. So it just goes to show that they're looking at everything, and you just have to really like be on your P's and Q's with your appearance as well as your performance. Kayla, shout out to Kayla for getting cut, I think it was last year, and then coming back. I feel like most women or most dancers would find it hard to do that because of ego and pride and whatnot. But her story of perseverance is incredible to me. Seriously. I wish that I could talk to her and just understand why she came back and why like she decided like this is still in my heart, and like taking that chance that, oh, I might be hurt again because they might have moved on with these other incredible dancers and not wanted me back. But she came back and she was strong, and she didn't look like anyone else, which I think gave her a leg up. She looked different, and so it was different type of representation on the team. But I think that was hands down, she's a legend for that, honestly. And she ended up making it to training camp and making the team. Spoiler. Last thing I want to say is I don't necessarily like how much they focus on age, pointing out like, oh, look at that little 18-year-old girl back there. No, when you're 18, you are an adult, and I think that you should be treated as such. And I think that a lot of times they may assume that because a girl is 18 or younger that she's not mature. I think it's natural to assume that, but give the girl a chance first. I kind of don't like how in the intros they say, hi, I'm so-and-so and I'm blah, blah, blah years old. I don't know if age matters as much. I got to think about that a little bit, but especially as women, age can be a touchy subject. So I think the focus shouldn't be so much on age and more so about who you are as a person, your character, if you can show maturity, and if you can dance. I think that should be it. So yeah, that's just how they operate over there. So that's episode 1. I'll come back for episode number 2, and I'm so excited to start this series with you all. I hope that you are watching the show and that you come back here to get some of the thoughts and debriefs from the show. I will see you next time on another episode of the Imperfect Cheerleader. Bye for now. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Imperfect Cheerleader podcast. Taking the time to listen while you're busy with all of life's responsibilities means the world to me. If you enjoyed this episode, here are a few ways you can support ICP. Number 1, hit the subscribe button so you always get newly released episodes and never miss them. Number 2, take a screenshot of the episode you listened to and tag @theprofessionalcheerleader on Instagram. We love to repost your tags and shout you out in our stories. Number 3, write a review. This is the best way to show your support for the podcast and helps us bring on even better guests, interviews, and topics. I hope you have a wonderful day, morning, or night, wherever you may be, and are continuing to work towards your goals of becoming a professional cheerleader, dancer, or just someone who loves to move. I'll see you later on another episode of the Imperfect Cheerleader podcast. Toodles for now.